There you are. Hey guys, getting a little bit of a late start today. As you know, I sleep when in between sessions, and now I'm like having another session briefly just to catch up with you guys. And after this, I'm gonna go crash. Gonna keep this short and sweet, or we'll see. We'll see how short and sweet it is. But I'm gonna be with you in a minute. I'm gonna grab my beverages, or beverage, coffee, something like that. So stick with me. I'm gonna let's flip on the sign, and I'll get this show started soon. Meanwhile, yeah, here you can see I've got the interface up, and continuing to work on it. I ran into some new and interesting issues that I can talk about, but I did fix a few things, so yeah, I'll go over that shortly. Let me grab my beverage and take care of my ablutions, and I'll be with you shortly. Take a little bathroom break there. Restroom break? Water closet break? Hello, my friends. How are we? So, yeah. Last night and into this morning, yesterday, whatever, it's all one continuum. I went through and got turned on some extra code. Got it working. Stuck it in there to clear out, to first to indent things according to their presence in a block, and then to hide more things that are irrelevant based on like number of extruders and things like that. And I realized in the process that for the two documents, of course, first one I get access to all the things that it needs, but for the second document I would need to open in the background the configuration.h file and read that and parse it at some point. I'm thinking I might set it up that this will parse them and keep that data in a little buffer the first time you open the extension, and that way when you go to open them, it already knows how many extruders and other things you have, and then it can use that for dealing with the values and configuration adv.h and pick up some of those conditions. But the way that I ended up doing it was, as you would expect, I used just some search and replace to clean up the directives that we made in C++ and converted them into something that could be parsed by, well, that's parsing of JSON. Let's see, there's actually some, that's for the options, which I do parsing of course. But it's all in schema here, actually. Yeah, I do all kinds of parsing of this stuff. And then I made some extra methods to remind me how to get through, and maybe they could be useful methods to do, like go through all the things and do a callback on them and return a list of all the ones that match according to the callback. It can check anything it wants, any conditions that it wants to. So that's kind of a cool thing. Let's see, so yeah, extract config does most of the work of pulling out the data, but then there's a section called, let's see, where is it? Maybe it's within extract config, let me see. It's been a while. It's been a whole several hours and stuff. Oh yeah, so I've had to make little functions like is e-axis item, is axis item, find item in schema, evaluate, there we go. Evaluate requires, that's a strange name. I'm going to find a better name for it, but it basically evaluates the text in the requires field. And you can see here that it goes through, I've got a find prior item helper that just calls find item in schema, passing the schema we know in here and the item that we want to check. It has to come before it, so we check its SID. So we just look for find item in schema with this name that comes before this SID. And then it sets up, it uses a flag called evaled. I used to call it eval. I think evaled is cuter. And it checks to see if it exists, and if it does, then it just returns that without doing anything further. Otherwise, it will actually, it checks to see if its requires field has anything to even look at, and if it doesn't, then it's no requirements. It's true. It's fine. It'll return basically anything that passes all the requirements is considered to be available, even though it may not be enabled because you unchecked it or whatever. There's two different states. So then you got, get the requires conditions are general. And then, it does things like, is it true, is it false? So it just checks, like, if you happen to type something like if1 or if0, you would get, those things would go away, basically. And then, or stay. Then I have all these little things that actually, these are the macro names that get interpreted, so I just turn them into functions because there's no conflicts so far. If there was, I would put an underscore on the front or something like that. But yeah, all these do that work of checking. And then I have a section where, this is actually the part right here, where it does the replace of the text with a few little things just to clean it up. And one of the things that it does actually is, strangely, is it fixes access driver type blah, so it turns it into a function call. But I could do that with like anything that takes a macro name inside of another macro, which is like one of the things that just gets used in a few places. Of course, this is one of those things that I'll have to read from configuration.h when I'm in configuration adv.h, but that's all right. Once I have these in place, they run pretty quick, within a second. So it's like, as soon as you open your Marlin folder, you won't even notice. It'll be happening in the background. It'll parse those two files and then keep that info. The other stuff that I had to deal with as far as figuring out how to manage the fact that it's a model view controller passing messages back and forth, and you can't always have the data you want. And the fact that you've got a view where you know, hey, I did an edit, so I don't need to be sent the whole text. Like, cut that out. I found all the ways to deal with all those things, and pretty much I think what amount to the official ways that they're supposed to be dealt with. One is like, yes, I did set a flag to ignore the next update message, which seems to work fine because you'd still get one. But it's only for the one view that you are editing in, and the other views get new text and update based on that. And it seems to not mess with their scrolling, so it works out well. It could if you had like something appear and disappear, which I'm going to be doing more. Like, I'll be having options that when you enable them, they make the dependent options appear or disappear. And that's going to be the next trick, which is basically just doing the reevaluate all the conditions. Each time you press any checkbox, it'll have to reevaluate, and I guess anytime you edit a value. But I really should keep it down to those that are mentioned in the conditions. So I may actually make a special list of those. Just say, well, if you don't are in this list, then there's no condition to check for sure, and I can skip a lot of the work that would normally be done. So we'll see how that works. I'm not going to be getting into that today. Today is just a little overview, and then I owe myself a nap, so I'll be crashing out after this probably for a little while. But just to get the basics of this, yeah. So of course I'm looking at now the editor.js file, which is the master file that handles dealing with the messages, and I found this trick here, which is if there's actually a content changes inside, and it shows you all the changes that were detected in the file when the document changed. So it's kind of nice. It like just sends a summary. So I could be passing that on, but yeah. So I just check to see if there were any, and if there aren't any, then I don't bother to update the view. So that works perfectly well. And things that don't need the update don't get it, so it works out perfectly. Yeah, I like that one. I hadn't found that mentioned anywhere, so I don't know if that was something that was standard, or maybe I took it, maybe it was there, but Copilot knew about it. It actually typed that whole line for me without my realizing. Like, I was like, okay, I need to do something here, and then suddenly Copilot comes up with this line. I'm like, yeah, that's what I was about to type. I was about to do that because that's what I found. So yeah, that's pretty good. So this ends up being pretty neat and pretty small. I didn't have to do a whole lot more. I'm also not storing prefs, so I actually didn't end up needing that. I might at some point need prefs, but at the moment not. So nice that they're separate anyway. I'm certainly going to split up a lot of these things into more units. now that I have the schema thing, that should be used by ABM.js for some of its schema stuff if I'm going to be, or just by the plugin in general, have like the option to, call a thing that says refresh data or whatever, and then a command, and then that could then be available for all the things, including, it needs to be available for parts of it too, anyway, for the geometry editor. I'm just going to have like the picture of the bed and everything else like that. Let's see what else we got here. Anything else that I did special? I had a lot of trouble getting used to how do you decide to do this, how do you iterate through these things, and I finally got the hang of it. So yeah, when you need to go through all the items, this is how you loop them. And I could also use const here, I guess. Const. So yeah, you can just do this, and that loops through them all. The structure as we have it now, so that's kind of one of the things I wanted to definitely have documented was, if you're going to go through the structure, refresh all item, like you should have an iterator that is standardly attached to this data that you can go through it in different ways or whatever. So yeah, this is the way I chose to go through it here. You could also do this like flattening thing, but that can mess you up. Like if I have multiple things that are under the same name and if the structure isn't exactly symmetrical or whatever. Yeah, so that was one thing that I found useful for the conditions, because they're laid out in a certain way that it makes sense to flatten them. It's called array.flat. It turns the array into a big flat array. And actually it turns out that the order that they're in is right. And it turned out that it was just what I did for Python. It worked out the same way. Other thing I've got to do is figure out this ordering. Like I don't necessarily want info machine, EEPROM, but stepper drivers needs to be near the top because that determines your axes, and so does extruder. So these two are near the top, and then things that belong in the extruder class section. There's some that like seem to belong in more than one section. So that was one of the things I'm kind of like puzzling over. I don't necessarily really want to do that and have things appear more than once that are only on the form once. But there are things that appear in the configuration more than once potentially under like if this, do this, else do that with the same define. So I need to figure out ways of dealing with that because that's not too uncommon. And in general, like, yeah, I mean, how much of this is going to be about trying to accommodate weird configs or unusual or, configs that don't have everything that we control in them. And there's to some extent, I can control some of that. I mean, certainly, like, being able to drag stuff around or just delete a whole section or whatever, have it hidden is nice in the interface. But, should you have the option to delete these in the config itself and just remove them completely? I suppose. You could have that, It just makes it harder for you to compare your configs later, of course. Nothing in BL Touch, that's interesting. Is that because the BL Touch section is empty? I think one thing is like, I've named all these sections, and I'm supposed to empty them out when there's nothing in them. But somehow BL Touch slipped by and there's nothing in there. Oh, yeah, there's nothing in there, but it's still showing. Well, there should be stuff in there because I'm not filtering. Oh, you know what it might be is that because I don't have, it's like depends on the probe set being set, and it's not able to evaluate that condition yet. So what I've done for conditions that I can't evaluate yet is not that. Is I just print out like I can't evaluate that. So like I'm not sure what I could do to make this reload. I guess I can just do this. Clear reload config.h adv.h, yes. And it says right now, yeah. So under BL Touch, yeah, there should be at least one item. Like, nope. Oh, the BealTouch flag itself is actually in the other file, and that's why. So it has to be able to check, is BealTouch enabled, which why, I need to be able to access the other file even though you're just editing in here. It's got to be like in the background. Oh, I'm going to get a little data from configuration.h. And then also I can evaluate like intermediate conditions that are in conditionals, but I'll have to add them in code. I don't think I'm going to be going through conditionals and like trying to evaluate every single one. That would be hard or difficult. And so yeah, this actually says here evaled is false. So that's why that's not there. So yeah, I should be hiding that section, but it makes a certain kind of sense to show them, even though, because I'm doing a different flag for hiding them for the class. It's like, well, I should see that if I go click the other thing. So yeah, at this point, like, I've got them marking as dirty, so that's one thing, although I'll probably do that a little differently. But for now, it's like, I wanted to do it with a color. I'm trying to figure out what color to use. These, you can see, are not actually doing any of the reveals yet. So that was going to be the next bit. And we can see if we can try and get it to reveal things would be neat, a neat trick. And then that might change the way that it scrolls, I'm not sure. Because I mean, these seem to do a pretty good job of keeping the top scroll at the same point. But yeah, if you're changing this, that's going to push things down. That should push things down and should look okay. So yeah, that's the next trick, which I will do, I don't know, maybe now, because to get a little insight into the code as we zip through. But yeah, there's been an awful lot of little finagles that I've done, little bits here and there, but it all starts to add up. I wrote the edit field fixer, which doesn't exactly work perfectly, but it's better than nothing, and maybe better than nothing, we'll see. It tries to avoid messing with your typing, except when you type something bad. And then, so you got to watch what you're doing. But yeah, these things, the way they lay out is a little bit wide. I admit that. Got to figure that part out too, like how to put header comments above things and have these get pushed down. I mean, maybe I could just push it down anyway. But I wouldn't mind having some of these bigger comments be on the further to the left, at least, in the middle at least, or something, so that they're, I don't know, middle, but somewhere where they're a little more readable, and you don't have to go scrolling off to the side like this. Although our comments do tend to be a little wide inside the configs, so oh well. It's our fault. I'll reflow them, we'll figure it out. So meanwhile, yeah, so how do you, so here we are in the edit view, which is like, this is the view, this is the script that runs on the web page itself. We're in the web view itself. So let's see, this is commit change, where it actually does the marking of flags dirty and stuff. So this is maybe where we would try to change that value to show that it is, to change the, actually recall the thing in the schema. I'm not even sure what it's called. What did I call it? Refresh requires, evaluate requires. Yeah, I could just call it refresh requires or something like that. But for now, we'll do evaluate requires, and you have to pass the schema and the item. So that's not hard. We have the schema. So we just need to figure out where to put that hook in, and then have it update the form. So let's try, let's see, actually it needs to call refresh all item enabled when it's done, whenever anything changes in the form. So let's see where that happens. So here's commit change. Something changed. I would say any change. Save web view state. This is where I would do it right here. I would say I've assigned, the fields have been assigned, so this actually does the change. And this is where you would have to call it. You would say refresh all item enabled, and that's it, basically. And it'll take care of the schema part, right? Oh, I do need to pass the schema, so schema, please. And schema, where do we get it from? I forget where we're keeping it stored in this now. Schema. Hello. Yes. Did I not call it schema? I probably forgot to call it schema. Let's see. When we get the data, we called it config data. Okay. Fine. I'm gonna give it a better name for sure. Refresh all of it. I'm able for the config data. There we go. So this will refresh true, false, etc. I guess we'll just say the evaled field of all items, and it goes through pretty quick. I don't think it's too slow. Then it saves the web view state, but then this is where it has to actually update the view and show what's the field called? I think I called it dot included, something like that. Shit, it's not called. I had call it. Oh, it's called nope now. Nope. So I need to actually go through and clear the nopes. So let's find all the nopes, and we actually refresh the nopes. So apply filter, nope. Apply filter works. I have to actually do the nope part. So let me see, the filter is already applied to things, but the thing is the filter doesn't get applied to things that you're not looking at. So I'm thinking maybe I need to apply the filter always. Well, one of the things is for counting them, I needed to count how many were visible at the end. So like lines is not nope, that's how many. And then add remove class hide. Here, remove class on all these. So yeah, little by little, I'm unhiding things. So I would say you might need to just do the count at the end manually instead of doing the way I'm doing it. And that'll be fine. Just do like a count of, well, let's see, we're doing this where we do the remove class hide on things and all that. So everything else we want to keep, but it's the nope stuff we don't want to keep. So let's take care of that. So, right. Right. And should the section be shown? Exactly. And all that. And lines. And I think we definitely need to not use the not nopes. I'll get not nope on some, not hide and not nope both. Right, and this actually, come to think of it, not hide and not nope, count them up. It's interesting because I thought this would actually get that BL touch to show up, but no, or hide its section or whatever. But let's see, it has Not hide and not nope. That's interesting. It definitely has a nope on it. Well, let's count both here. We'll do like H lines and N lines, I guess. So we got how many things do we care about? We care about N lines, I guess. Things that are not hide should have, right. Well, I guess H lines makes more sense here for len. But N lines makes more sense for counting up the number of results. I don't know. This might be fine. I feel like it's kind of fine. I don't know. Let's move on. Let's see. Instead of apply filter, the thing about apply filter is it does that thing where it leaves. It doesn't bother to put the hide thing on things that are not nope, that have nope on them. So I want to make sure that it gets those, but at the same time I want to not count. So I think this makes sense. Do it this way where you remove class hide but leave nope or whatever. Then you do the other stuff, and then at the end you just count up, here's a number of things you found based on that. And then if I need to, I can update all these things. So I'll need to update all the things, I guess, basically. And I could just call apply filter on it, I guess, afterward. So yeah, okay, so let's look at that possibility. So on commit change, do I want to call apply filter and all that? Refresh all item enabled? Let's do it here. Let's call this refresh form for change, I guess. And that's going to have all of this. We'll just call it refresh visible items, I think. Make it simpler. And that's important because then when we save the web view state, I guess, maybe that's not so important, it'll have that in it already. Okay, refresh visible items. So the first thing we do is refresh all item enabled on the data. Then we'll basically do apply filter. I guess I could say apply filter, but I gotta put that nope field on things. Nope. So here it is. Basically looping through the fields, and if they have nope on them, we deal with it. Or I should say we do the noping on the line div of the item. Okay, good. Yes, we need to go through basically just go through all the line divs on the page. So I think if we just select all div line, we should be good. div.line, yeah. Yeah. So I want to iterate them. Each Copilot can be turned on, I guess. Oh yes, right. So something like this, but no. What we want to do is we want to for each div line, if right. What do we call it? I think it was called item ref last I checked. Or I guess it's not now. Darn it. Info ref, yes. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to definitely standardize these things very soon. All these names. Eventually. Item, info, data, blah. What's what? Okay, so you have your div info ref. And basically, div toggle, we'll do like a div.toggle class. Nope. Based on not data evaled. There we go. And hopefully that takes care of that. And it does it this way rather than in the order through the data, which is interesting, but it'll be similar. It should be similar. And then I won't be needing I. Okay, I think that's good. I wonder if jQuery always takes the I, or it's optional. I think that maybe the second part is optional. But we'll take I haven't used jQuery each in a while. Remind me? Each is any? Let's see what each, get my bearings on each again. Right. Array and callback. Taking index and a value. Right. And it just does what it does. Okay, I guess it makes sense. So there you go, evaled. I think that's pretty much it. Just doing the nope part. I think the rest are good, but we'll see, we'll see. Let's refresh, reload, and see if my checkboxes work now. So let's pick one of these things that was easier to check, like custom main menu, for example. Oh, it broke, it disappeared. Let's take a look why. Refresh visible items, line 108. Has an issue. Divs, oh, that would help. I guess for each it'll return, like, you can return true or false or whatever in your little each thing, and it'll give you the result, which I forgot about. That's kind of one of its purposes. Right, there we were. Take a quick look at it. Yeah, each. But there's nothing taking the result, which is interesting. It's just ignoring it. It's just like, It's different from jQuery each, which is $.each. Oh, wait, maybe it isn't. Maybe we are doing. Meant to say, yeah. Should be $.each instead of this, I think, but it's not what I wanted. There's a different version of each. It should be like, not to be confused with the each that iterates over things. Yeah, so this is not the right version of each anyway. It's called, let's see, events, dimension, deprecated data, manipulation. I think selectors would be the thing you'd have, but I'll just do a little search on each. Each, there it is, iterate over an object. That's the one we wanted. So, okay, yeah. And maybe you can take the result and get a new object back with just the things that return true or whatever, but that's all I wanted right there. So, okay. Let's try that again. Nope, still doesn't like it. Or at least it's not doing the right thing. Illegal value for line. Oh, that's not me. Or is it? Maybe it is. But let's see. Data. It's like an empty object there. That's weird. 101. Oh, from here, it's giving me that. So it's like it's saving something empty or something. Data. Yeah, this thing reloads pretty frequently, so yeah, I've got to, anytime I reload the page, so custom main menu, hey! So yeah, that's an interesting one. It did appear for a second there. So what's going on? We still haven't quite figured it out. But the refresh should seem to be happening pretty quick. Happy Saturday, everybody. How are we all doing today? I see I'm all alone, but that's fine. That's why we do these things, is not to entice a live audience necessarily, but it'd be nice to be more entertaining. I'd love it if you guys were more into code. But I understand, it's like, you know, everyone loves their own code. So here we do this, and then we say refresh visible items, and then we do div.line. See, what did we end up calling that? Form div? Find each Or I could just do this. Can you tell that that's selected? I can't. Either way works. So, what's going on, do you suppose? Let's see. Refresh all item enabled, and then go through all of them and check their eval. And let me see how I'm treating eval in other places. It might be that, well, I know that it's always in existence, I think, so I'm just going to make sure if it's missing that I do the right thing, but it should always be there. If not evaled, add nope. Oh, okay. And looks like I already did that. Not data evaled. So yeah, it looks like I'm doing the right thing. We just need to let each div do its own thing, right? But yeah, why? Why is it hiding the menu? Oh, you know, it may be that it's related to the fact that, well, I don't know. Like that should not disappear, right? Of course, like everything seems to have disappeared, so, or has it? Yeah, like I basically disappeared everything. Okay, clearly more going on than I realize here. So let's just print out at least one of these things that I'm looking at. Data, please. And I'll just do like, you know, a couple of them or whatever. And I'll just look at 10 of them. Something like that. Okay. Oops, I looked at way more than 10. Weird, man. Hopefully nothing else weird. Okay, refresh. Gets comment, enabled line, name, section, SID, and switch. Oh yeah, there's nothing there. But maybe that's later. And there's the evaled, yeah. That's got evaled. So maybe these are the ones, yeah, these particular ones, these 10 here are the 10 that I'm looking at. So that one, no eval. No, not even a field. But that one has a field false. Okay, so I think I need to consider whether the data exists at all. So first off, you get nope only if the field exists, I guess. So first, that's the thing. There, I'll try that. Okay, well, it's not appearing and disappearing. The only other thing is that these things below it probably depend on more than just the thing, but maybe not. Let's take a look. see what their dependencies look like. So we want to actually look at their properties, not the console. There we go. Info ref of that item. There we go. So custom menu main, and it has no requirements on its own, although it should. At least not listed here. But I notice I'm keeping a ridge, which is used for the undo stuff, or the dirty stuff. I have a little original data there, so that's interesting. It has no eval field at all. Okay. Custom menu config, similarly. But let me see what's below them. So in custom menu config, the next item is title and all that, and that actually does have, requires custom menu config. So this is one that should get its eval to be true, but it's not becoming true after that change. As I can see here, yeah, it's not changing it to true. Perhaps because the document itself hasn't changed, but that shouldn't matter. It's looking at the data that we have here and looking it up according to, well, what is it looking it up according to? According to the data itself. So if I checked custom menu config and it is enabled, which it says it is true, then that should show up here, and it should end up being evaled as true once that's done. So this is where we'll figure out what's going on with that. And it says its value is custom commands. It's a string. Custom menu config is a string. Oh no, the title is a string, of course. Makes a sense. Makes a sense. Okay, so yeah, the config title should be showing up when I do this. So what's going on? Let's take a look at custom menu config title. Sure, we'll just look at the one. Okay. What's going on? Uh-huh. Illegal value for line. What? Where's it getting that from? Check my my stack here. Let's see. Visual Studio Code app. It seems to be coming from VS Code itself, which is annoying. But it could be something I'm causing somewhere here. Just not seeing how. Object.lineat. Not sure. Well, anyway, we unchecked it, and we see that the item is evaled as false. And again, this time it evaled as false. So yeah, why is it evaluing as false? That's the question. Is custom menu config considered enabled, and in what way? guess I want to look at the overall structure as well. Well, it shouldn't have hide on it. I mean, that's true. It shouldn't have any other classes on it. So let's make sure. Just nope. Just nope. And just disabled as well. So yeah, interesting. I mean, these all have nope on them. They should all get their nope removed, but they're not. So we should see that happen there, and it's not. But we do see that this is getting called, so it's not like. But why is it evaluating as false? That's the real question at this point, since it kind of seems to be depending on the fact that the data is not being updated. Let's see what refresh all item enabled does for us. Okay, so it clears all the evaluation results that are there, and then updates them. Evaluate requires. On the schema and the item, or the foo, whatever it happens to be. Right, for const item of foo. And that's it. So what's going on is the question. Evaluate requires is pretty straightforward. I don't think I have it returning early or anything like that. It doesn't say anything like I'm having trouble evaluating. Well, let's take a look and see what it does when it evaluates this situation, if there's some way it can catch that. In this case, we're again looking at custom menu config title, so let's just see if that's something we can check against. So when we get down here, okay. Well, it has that correctly labeled, enabled custom menu config. How does it evaluate that is the question. Copilot can be a little annoying sometimes. Let's put it away here. All right, so if it's this, then also evaled, yeah. false. False again? What? Why is that false? See, it's evaluating it as false. That's strange. Enabled, custom menu config, false. Is it not updating the data in time before it does it? That's updating the data, I'm pretty sure. Well, we can take a look at that. Let's see, in item, and I think we also have the schema, right? Yes, we do have the schema. So, clearly, well, let's see what's happening in enabled. If foo in opts, name of the item that is, then, yeah, that's the way I chose to do it, I don't know. Get schema sect foo, and then if it's an array, then you go through the items, and if enabled, return true, else return enabled. So, let's see. Else return false. Boo, or Baz, I guess. And all we care about is whether the thing that we're looking at is enabled. And our underscore enabled is looking at defined, and defined is looking at, also looking at enabled, which is the actual field is called enabled. I know it should be called, I guess it should be called defined at this point, to make it simpler, even though it's not semantically exactly the thing, but yeah. So yeah, if it's not enabled, it returns false, and then it does some SID comparison. If item SID is greater than or equal to item SID, okay, well clearly that's bad. I guess we check the SIDs later. Yeah, it does the SID later. Anyway, looks like. But yeah, does something count as being enabled? Well, that's the trick. We have to make sure that it passes and it also is at the right line. And I think that a lot of that stuff is handled. Got to make sure that that is the case. But yeah, like SID, yeah. Find item in schema by name before. So my thought is, yeah, it has to be, yeah, there it is, find prior item. So it really only looks at the prior item, I think. I hope. But yeah, and then there's find prior item. And those are mostly used to check these kinds of things. But yeah, as far as checking something and being enabled or disabled, it's just doing it in a very raw way. Alright, so typically you would say, or is it greater than or equal to max SID? But yeah, nothing like that is even in there, so oops. So again, still not showing and hiding, but at least we'll get some more output here. Oh, and I wanted to, right, I have to call enabled with an extra flag or something. What did I say? Equals loud, enabled with loud. Alright, supposedly that'll make it print more stuff. There we go, yeah, false, false, and then as far as evaled goes, well, hold on, check. Alright, enabled. Interesting. So yeah, custom menu config. It has no eval of its own, so it should just be treated as true. In fact, I would say anything that has a depth of like 0 should just be no eval necessary, right? interesting. Yeah, I should consider that. That's a possibility too. So interesting. Let's see. Let's do a quick reload just to make sure I'm not missing something because of a reload issue. I'm sure that's not it, but boom. All right. There we go. Evaled false. Enabled custom menu config evals as false when I check that. So I don't know, is it that I'm not writing the data in time or something? I figure I'm writing the data by, if I'm calling refresh, I must have written the data. I must have written the data, damn it. Let's see, save state, does that matter? That might matter, actually. But it's saving the state. So maybe I need to save the state and then do it? You can try that too. Like refresh all requires first and then refresh visible items after. Just to see what that does. All right. Let's see what we get. I think this might be different. But it's not. Okay. Enabled, true, yes. This one, eval, false. So yeah, I was thinking maybe it would write the data first and that would be good, but it shouldn't matter, honestly. We're just sharing all the same data here. Okay, so what's happening with that enabled then? Loud. Okay, so in this we are printing out found. But wait, are we not? Okay, guess it's never getting there. I really want to figure out what's going on with that other stuff. That would be nice. Maybe I'll put a breakpoint here and then we'll see a stack trace. Maybe that'll help. Okay, what's our stack trace look like? Scope. Stack, here we are. Not sure, not sure. It might be a spurious thing, so. I don't know. Not seeing it. Well, I'll learn more about this someday. Somehow. But yeah, that's peculiar. Okay, so it never gets there. That's interesting. Maybe it's the eval is causing the issue, but it says it's going to do this with quotes, which it knows how to do. But it never seems to get there. Let's see if that's what's going on. Well, it would normally just throw an error evaluating condition. So that's what should happen there. Oh, there it is. Update config option, line 35 is where it's throwing some weirdness. Okay. Which line? Which file? Editor.js. Really? Okay. I wouldn't expect stuff to be going on in here, but okay. So it's document line at line. Update config option. Line equals data line -1. So yeah, I gotta print out whatever the weird value is for line here. And get the line from the document, huh? VW document line at line text. Fascinating, okay. 3850 is what it says here. That's definitely a reload. Okay. Now I'm printing it out, it's like not having the error anymore. What? Okay. For some reason the line is okay this time. But definitely not refreshing correctly still. Okay, that's interesting. I guess I'll keep that in case something weird happens, but yeah, update configuration, what? Okay, so what is going on? Why, again, why is it not updating my nopes? I need to get my nopes out of here. div toggle class, nope. For each div, doesn't equal undefined and not, or is false. Refresh visible items, followed by the data, which has not been evaled apparently. Okay, so maybe the refresh all requires just isn't happening. Let's see what's going on with that. I mean, I know I'm calling it at one point, so it works. It can work. It does take a schema on input, which without it wouldn't work. It's tricky. What? I don't see anything obvious. Let's see, commit change. Is it somehow getting out because it doesn't see a change? No. No, it's totally cool with that. But it's supposed to refresh visible items in relation to this, so. And then when it gets down to there, yep, it's supposed to do that for that particular one, but I mean, maybe I should eval them all in place right here. Damn it, just eval it. Well, what did we get with our loud evaluation? We never saw that, did we? I've got a little loud variable here. Found foo, and then I do set it to something down here. Yeah, in item name equals custom menu config title. So I'm like, it never gets here? That seems strange. It's got to get here. Schema and in item. Yep, there's our schema. Mystery. I hate mysteries like this. They're annoying. Okay, let's see. This is why I'm gonna get dinner after this. I'm gonna load up on some calories, and then I'll have it all solved, like right afterward. I'll be like, oh, of course, it was just that one thing. Blah. Of course, it is not so simple, is it? Okay. Let's see. Let me think of what I'm trying to do. Let's see. It looks like if I look at the data structure at this point, I should have some idea. So I should simply look at the data structure. So if I say refresh all requires, then I should next say console.dir config data. Let's see what it really looks like. Okay. Oh, that error's back. Bad line. Still says 3847, which last I checked was still a good number. It's a long file. Yeah, over 4,000 lines. Illegal value for line. That's definitely got something to do with it, but I don't know what. Okay. That is the thing. This is right after updating the data. Let's see, where do I put custom config menus? UI? Do I got a spot for these? Oh, it's got its own, of course, category. So, config menu, pick one, any one. I guess title was the one we were looking at. It has been evaled as false. I don't get it. This is weird. I want to be able to just type in please eval this and have it eval it somehow. Put a little box in here. Because yeah, right after it does it, it says, well, that's evaled false. So if it evaled that false, then that means that the main item, custom config menu, itself is enabled. So it does mark it as enabled. So that's all that matters. It should be and it is on the line before this one, 3848. Yeah, it has an earlier SID and all that. So it's in this area that the problem lies. But what's interesting is it seems to never get here, because it never prints it out. Oh wait, there it is, right at the top. Enabled. Found, custom menu config. Okay. If enabled, return true. The value seems to matter here. Let's check that. Oh. But if it's a switch, then the value doesn't matter. Well, if it's undefined, it returns true as it being enabled anyway. So that's not it. Let's see, if it's undefined, return true. If it's one of its requires equals true, and then otherwise it evaluates that. So it looks to me like no. That looks like that works fine to me. What else? What else is about it? Let's see. Well, when we know we've got that, we've got loud, so we can check all the other things to see where it's getting that from. I'm going to debug the crap out of these things if I have to. Let's see. Return is true includes, so that would be an enabled thing. And then there is defined, which is called by. Or name of foo. If name in ots. Make sure they are items. Okay. Well, at least we'll see that all get printed. That'll make things interesting. Boop. Boop. All right, enabled, found. Interesting. Maybe I do need to reload just to be on the safe side. Error evaluating, there it is. Not defined motherboard. Why? I wonder. Okay, well now we're getting somewhere. Why an error? Oh, probably because I'm trying to do this. Foo.name when there is no foo.name. Okay. Always something weird going on. Let's see, what is it? Didn't have trouble evaluating at that time. Let's see, found. So enabled, but never gets to defined, huh? That's strange. Error evaluating not defined motherboard. Well, there is no motherboard here, right? So define needs to consider that, right? I wonder where that's coming up though. Error. Well, I guess I could take out the try. That will show us the error, right? But I had to try. I had to have a try. Let's see. Alrighty, let's see what we get here. If we go there and there. Enabled found object. Found. Enabled found object. Blah. Again, it's never getting to disabled, it seems like. Maybe, I don't know. Or enabled, it's never getting, well, it is getting there. And then it finds it, but then it kind of goes into mystery land at that point. What? It comes right back, like after the eval part. Enabled, it should be going to there, boom. And that's actually what the eval does. It does go to enabled. So enabled does get called. It says so. How much can I console log before it starts to get ridiculous? But it does say it found foo. If enabled item, that's where it never seems to get to. Okay, we got to there, we got found, we got the word found. If enabled, else return enabled. Like what? Okay. So yeah, foo is going to be a list of things. Let's see. Foo, foo, foo. Okay. Now it's getting somewhere. And the stuff showed up. Just from logging? It seems to indicate maybe a race condition of some kind, like something is, data is being updated from another source, or I don't really know, to be honest. TBH, I don't know. But the idea is working now, so you can see this is the whole point, is just to be able to have an option that these all depend on, and you can find it because it exists in the menu, but then when you enable it, boom, now you get all these other options. And then, you know, some of these might have dependencies under them. So that's working, but I guess this logging gives me a clue that maybe something is out of sync or something like that is going on. So I don't know. I don't like that kind of thing at all. You're logging and it's like, oh, well, yeah, the logging, as long as you log everything, the code will be more honest. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It may have something to do with JavaScript voodoo, the way it, you know, does its thing with its main loop and all that. Something about stuff not coming out in the main loop is, I don't know. At this point, that actually is working, and my code is not terrible. I don't know, so I don't know what's going on there. All right, well, I'm gonna go get that burger, that veggie burger, and maybe I'll come back later and work on this, but I didn't get much sleep today, so I'll probably just crash out. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this little foray into bug solving, and yeah, that particular one was a big deal, so it's a good one to get taken care of. Motherboard, why is that indented? Because it is, all right. But yeah, like all these things are going to be, like, can I find delta? Let's see, delta. Yeah, it's not quite working on delta here yet, but like if I go to delta, what does that work? No, still not. Nope. I still have issues here. Cannot read properties of undefined that eval requires. Yeah, there's a lot to do. So I'm gonna need that burger. All right, catch you guys later. Peace.